Well, it appears that my deck project has been put on hold and for good reason. So, as you seen from yesterday's video, I started installing boards onto the deck. It's still got a ways to go, but unfortunately, it's going to have to be tested pretty early because Tropical Storm Isaias, that's a weird name for me to pronounce, but I thought it would be called Isaias. That's how I always known it to be, but apparently they're using a different pronunciation. But so Tropical Storm Isaias, or however you say it, it is coming directly my way, and I'm talking the eye. It is heading straight for me. So this is going to mean that I'm most likely going to be without power for a little while. So for those of you that do not live on the coast, that do not get this, I want to take this have an opportunity to explain what it is that I am going through. Now, you probably have already heard it quite a lot before, but well, let me start off what it actually is. Uh, in general terms, it is a tropical cyclone. Now, here in the states, we sometimes call it a tropical system. Now, before you type in the comments, hurricanes, tropical storms, those are classifications, and I will get into those. But yeah, here they're actually called tropical cyclones. For those not from the states, like if you're in the northeastern Pacific, you know them as well, yeah, northeastern Pacific. Yeah, you also call them tropical cyclones. If it was northwestern Pacific, I was thinking of. If you're from the northwestern Pacific Ocean, you would know them as typhoons. Which is they're pretty much just they're the same thing. We just use a different classification system, but they're pretty much the same thing. So a tropical cyclone is a rotating storm that is characterized by an eye and high winds. It also brings heavy rain, and like I say, it's more characteristic for its circular motion. Now, now these can originate from almost anywhere in the ocean. Like where I live, near the Atlantic Ocean, they usually start from one of three areas. One is on the just off the coast of Africa, is where they usually start to develop, and then they take a long route. The second area is somewhere in the Caribbean. Now, those tend to be lower level storms, but there have been ones in the past where it developed very quickly. And the third area is in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, those are the three main areas that they usually develop. And how they are directed, it's their direction is usually from several things: a high pressure system, low pressure system, and the jet stream. Now, one of the characteristics of tropical cyclones is their low pressure center, where there's a very small area in the center of the storm they call the eye, where there's no storm, there's no wind, but it is very brief when it rolls over you. It's pretty small, like 15-20 miles. It's not that big, but that center has a low pressure. Um, at the last check of Isaias, its pressure. Let's see. I know they have it listed in here. Yeah, I'm trying to get it from the NOAA website, but I think someone else has it. It is at 993 millibars. Um, now, now you probably see the pressure, and why is that significant? It's not really so much the pressure reading itself. Yes, when it is lower, the storm tends to be stronger. But what causes that is actually the difference of pressure between the outside and the center. The bigger the pressure difference is, the higher the winds is going to be. But where was I? I'm getting off track here. So the storm is directed mainly by pressure systems and the jet stream. In this case here, there's a high pressure system out in the ocean that was keeping it down low, but now it's starting to make a turn to the north, because we have like we have a front that was out west, and it's starting to push it upwards, and they are expecting. They were talking about the jet stream, but right now they have Isaias going all the way up towards the New England region. But the most basic one is the high pressure system. Tropical systems usually do not like being near areas of high pressure. They'll go around them. So what causes a tropical cyclone to strengthen? The main thing that strengthens them is warm water, especially out in the ocean. They almost always strengthen in the ocean. That depends on the temperature, because with the temperature it evaporates the moisture up into the air, and that's where the storm gets its fuel from. So when you have more moisture, that's where it starts to strengthen. But it's not based on that alone. Even though it's out in the it's been out in the ocean right now, the reason why there's two reasons why it hasn't strengthened. I'll get to the second reason in a moment. But even though it's out in the ocean, there's been some dry air. We've had a heat wave over here, and we've just had it's been unbearable over here. But with the dry air, it's starving it of moisture, and so it's just struggling to get any kind of strength in it. The other reason is wind shear. Now, wind shear is when you have the wind going in different directions. When you normally see a tropical system, it usually spins in a clockwise motion. But it's not always uniform, because you can't just think of just on the ground. You have to think thousands of feet up, and this is something that those in the aviation industry especially know about. If the wind is going in different directions, the storm becomes disorganized, and with the wind not going in one direction, it's just not gonna be good for the storm. So that's why it's not going any stronger than it already has. So far we've been pretty good with this storm. Now over here, so how much of an impact does it have when it gets here? So this is where we go to a particular scale. It is called the Saffir-Simpson scale. It's pretty much a simplified version of another system that is used, which I believe that is the Beaufort scale. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just double checking that. Yeah, there are. Yeah, we have the Beaufort scale, which goes on a scale from 0 to 12, 12 plus. But this is pretty much a simplified version of that, and this is the one we use here in the States. So when a storm is forming, it doesn't get its name right away. Now, whenever there is a chance that a storm will develop into a tropical cyclone, they designate it an invest and give it a number. It pretty much means it's an area of investigation where they're going to take a close look at it and see if it has the conditions that are right for it to develop into a tropical system. At this point, it's not much concern, but it's just something that they're looking ahead to. So when it does become a tropical cyclone, we start to go on the scale, and the lowest on the now this there are two categories that are not officially on the Saffir-Simpson scale because they're ranked too low to be on there. The first category is tropical depression, which in order for a storm to be classified as tropical depression, and has to have speeds it's important I say this, sustained wind speeds, winds that it can hold for a period of time. Gusts do not count, but they will note it. For tropical depression, the wind speed has to be held at least 38, less than 38 miles an hour, equal or less than 38. Now, when it is a tropical depression, once again, it does not get its name yet. Instead, it'll be designated a number based on how many, what number storm that this has been counted during the year. So it doesn't officially get a name just yet. But tropical depressions, not much to worry about there. It does get a little windy, but pretty much the main issue is minor flooding. So not much to worry about it. So unless you're in like a low-level area where you're prone to flooding, there's really not much to worry about with a tropical depression. The next category up, which is the one that we are currently facing, is tropical storm. Tropical storm has winds somewhere between 39 and 73 miles an hour. Now at this point, then the storm will get its name. That is off a list that has been released at the start of the hurricane season. There is a list for both the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, and they give names in alphabetical order from A to Z. And they start at the, of course, they start with A for the first name storm, and then B for the second name storm, and so on. In the rare case that we run out of names on the list, we go to the Greek alphabet, and it, to my knowledge, has only happened one or two times before, in which we start to name them Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, and it has gone to Delta before. And I forgot what year that was, but it was a very active season. But like I said, I think it happened like either one or two times before. But anyway, tropical storm. Now, the threat of flooding is intensified, and that is especially near rivers, creeks, anywhere where there's a body of water. Here where I live, there is a river about 10 miles to my north, so not a significant threat to me, but for anyone living near there, that level of the river is going to rise. Tropical storms, like I said, the main threat is flooding, and of course there is going to be some wind. Not much to expect on damage. You'll probably lose a few shingles and a few tree branches, and a temporary loss of power, which could last from anywhere from 1 day to a week. It's something that can easily be fixed. So even though that tropical storms are a threat, it's nowhere near the level that we're going to be talking about coming up. But especially near the beaches, even though that this is not category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they will still tell people to evacuate from the beaches because the main threat, there are two threats on the beaches. There's beach erosion, which it will erode away the beaches, carry the sand back. And the biggest threat is storm surge. Now, storm surge is when this happens with the ocean, when there's so much wind pushing the water up, it's going to cause all those choppy waves. It pushes them so much that it will go over the dunes and cause flooding near anywhere near the beaches, and it can range anywhere from like 2-3 feet all the way up to like 15 feet. It's a very significant threat on the beaches. So if you're living on the coast and you hear a tropical storm warning or a hurricane warning, you got to get out of there. And a lot of times these are mandatory evacuations. Uh, so now, after tropical storm, we officially get into the Saffir-Simpson scale, and we start at Category 1. Category 1 are hurricanes that are between 74 and 95 miles an hour. And this is the weakest of the hurricane scale. Now, for any good home, this will not cause any significant structural damage. As long as everything's up to code, you should be fine. However, if you're in a mobile home that is not anchored down, it's going to be a very bad day for you, as the wind can easily topple mobile homes, and you don't want to be in there. So even with mobile homes on a Category 1, they're going to tell you to leave. For any old, weak trees, they'll either snap or topple over, and they could also be uprooted as well. So this would be a good time to trim those trees, and but of course, with big trees, can't be helped. But if it falls your way, it can cause damage. So coastal flooding and damages to the piers on the beach can also occur with a storm. And power outages are to be expected with Category 1 storms. And it can last a few days before they can restore power. We've had a Category 1 earlier, and that was Hannah, which hit Texas. It was the 8th named storm. Like I said, Isaias, that would be storm number 9 of the season. The last hurricane that hit here, I believe, was Matthew, which was 2 years ago, I think. Because I think there was another storm after him, but I don't think it was a Category 1. I think that was a tropical storm. So then we go up to Category 2. In Category 2, the winds intensify between 96 and 110 miles an hour. Now, this one will cause some significant damage, especially to roofs. And if it's not constructed well enough, it could even pull a roof off its base. And any doors, windows that are not placed in very well, they'll fly out. Let's see, we got considerable damage to the piers. Any poorly constructed signs, they're going to be blown off as well. And now you have more trees that will be snapped or uprooted. And mobile homes will especially take significant damage if not destroyed. And this is also where those in manufactured homes will also be of concern, as because that they're not as structurally sound as a typical home, they'll suffer some structural damage as well. As far as anyone near the beach, you've got to make sure you anchor down any watercraft that may be floating out there, as any unprotected anchoring can break free, and it has happened. So Category 3, this is where we get into the major hurricane category, and this is where some very, very significant damage is going to occur. For a hurricane of Category 3 status, the winds go between 111 and 129 miles an hour. Now, these can cause structural damage to small homes and utility buildings. And that's especially those that have frames made of wood. Um, and if you have any homes that don't have a very good foundation, uh, forget about it. They're gonna be destroyed. And especially mobile homes, there's no way that they're gonna survive that. And if you have gable roofs, one of those pointy roofs going up, which is unfortunately one my house has the pointy roof going up. Um, those can be peeled off from their base as well. If any manufactured homes uh, can face severe damage, and maybe to the point where it is um, not going to be able to be repaired. Um, Flooding becomes even more significant, and any debris that is laying nearby, those can become projectiles, and this is why you want to clear away any lying pieces of wood, yeah, any garbage laying around. You want to clean those up as well. I've had to move some of the old boards inside. Speaking of, I've been cutting up those bigger boards to smaller ones and placing them in my green um, garbage can, which is used for our lawn clippings, and we're using that as ballast. So make sure you clear away anything in your backyard. Anything that can easily float away or be blown away, move it inside, or if you're unable, anchor it down. And even some of the more healthier trees can be blown over with a Category 3 storm. And of course, we cannot forget significant flooding can occur with a storm. And I have shown in the past that my area is prone to flooding, especially with Hurricane Florence that came through a few years ago. It almost reached the last step on my backyard. So it came very close, and we were getting really concerned, but luckily it didn't go any higher than that. Um, and with power loss, this can last for several weeks. And that happened to me with Floyd back in, forget what year that was. I think that was 2003, I think it was. And this is also where another utility can be of concern, and that is water. Water could possibly be cut off from homes or even be contaminated. And this is why they tell you to stock up on bottled water before the storm hits, just in case you want a supply that'll last you a little while. So now we go up to Category 4, and this is where catastrophic damage will occur. And the wind for Category 4 is between 130 and 156 miles an hour. This will cause more extensive structural failures on small residences. You got to the point of irreparable damage to bigger buildings, and especially to gas stations. If you've seen videos of strong storms hitting, the canopies over the gas pumps have been shown to collapse on top of the gas pumps. So, and that's something that's going to cause a major cleanup. Any mobile home or manufactured home, they're a complete loss. A lot of trees, unless they're like the healthiest, strongest trees in the country, they're going either going to be uprooted or blown over. There's going to be extensive beach erosion, and of course, major flooding. You'll have electrical and water losses, possibly for several weeks. The last significant Category 4 that hit was Hurricane Harvey back in 2017. And then finally, at the top of the scale, the worst case scenario, Category 5. And this is for any hurricane that is over 157 miles an hour. And this, like I said, this is worst case scenario. This can cause complete roof failure on a lot of residences, even if they're the best built ones. And that also includes industrial buildings. You have many roofs, walls collapsing, and that's especially to those that don't have support on the inside. You got heavy, irreparable damage to wood frame structures, and I've already mentioned mobile and manufactured homes. No more. There's only very few structures can survive a Category 5. And if it's near the beach, forget about it. So you have to be inland if you're even going to have a chance to survive a Category 5. Major damage on the lower floors of all structures near the shoreline because of flooding and storm surge. There's going to be evacuations all along the coast, and it's going to be a whole mess. And power outages, water losses can go up for several months. And of course, the most infamous one was Hurricane Katrina over in New Orleans. And I have not forgotten about Irma and Maria in Puerto Rico. That was a double whammy for them. So, those are all the categories of this on the scale. Now, back to this particular one, Isaias. Luckily, this is it did reach Category 1 status earlier, but it has since weakened, and at last check was at 70 miles an hour. I believe they have just given an update, and it is still at 70 miles an hour, and is expected to cross over my area overnight Tuesday morning. So, probably by the time you see this video, the storm is going to be right on top of me. But I have been through these storms before, and I'm going to be just fine. I do not expect that this storm is going to be hanging out around here for very long. Again, the eye is expected to come on top of me early morning Tuesday, and that same day at 8 p.m., it's going to be reaching New Jersey. So it's going to be moving out of here pretty quickly. So yeah, hopefully I won't be out of power for that long. In fact, I was planning to I was on a short hiatus from my DJ mixes. I was going to come back and do a show today, but I decided it's best that I focus on preparation here before I come back doing any shows. So I believe that will do it. Kind of explain to you how this works. So that's pretty much it. And yeah, good luck to me. I'll see you guys later.